Perfect. I think this is working. Publish it. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, we're live. We are live. Right. Sorry. I was supposed to be on about 15 minutes ago. I apologise for that. My computer decided now would be a good time to restart, update and restart. So I apologise for that. Right, we are working on the next 2 pages. First, I actually want to fix this page, and then we're going to work on these 2 just now. So, there's nothing wrong necessarily with this page except this placement here. So I'm going to move this logo and we're going to center it. Now it looks a bit weird because I know there was, if you were with us last session, it took a bit of time to get to this point. And I'm also going to move this here as well. Oh, look at that, his name's Jeremy. There you go. Right. Very good. That's a good page. Right, so that's basics done. We're going to get all of this done. Let's do some simple. Let's do some simple stuff first, and then we'll work on the rest. Should I post to Instagram? I think just post to Instagram. I think I'll post. Yep, we'll do a quick Instagram post, just in case people want to join us. And then we will ink. Well, I think these 3 pages for sure. Yeah, okay, whatever. Let me just type something. Okay, don't forget the K. Hashtag YouTube. Hashtag live stream. How many things I have to do? Hashtag free. I don't like all this. Hashtag art session or art sesh. There you go. Right, let's just share that and see what happens. Okay. Right, so let's do this. Let's see what we can figure out. Okay, we'll Let's just go for it. Right, so here I am. What is going on with my tablet? There you go. So this was 4 years earlier, as you can see, and I'll be very honest and say I cannot for the life of me be bothered right now to do this one. So instead I will do this one and then work into it, right? That's kind of how we're going to be playing this. So I'll take this and I'll just turn it into rough, and I have now got my pencil sketch. I think the placement of this is kind of annoying. It's a bit too straight on, a bit too perfect. I think I want to move it a bit more like this. That creates more of a gap here, which gives the idea of nothingness, gives the idea of his blank, vacant expression, which gives the idea of less emotion, that kind of thing. So, anyway, enjoy. Small techniques, small things. Let's get to inking this bad boy. That's not how you spell inking. Same as I always do, outline, inline, or detail, whatever you prefer. Use my Turnip pen for the outline. I think a 0.6 would work here. Now this is Jeremy here. Right, this is him, little handsome Superman looking fella right there. Good looking guy. And he is going to be younger, which means I need to do less lines. I need to add. He's 4 years younger, so he's not exactly old here. But let's make it a little bit bigger. I need him to look the same. I need him to look similar, if not the same. Minus, the chiseled features. Remember, they're still going to have a little level of puppy fat to his face. There's still going to be areas of young, I guess a lack of agedness to his face. So to do that, I'm going to redraw this ever so slightly. Because I want him to look more similar to here. Similar chin, as it were. The nose is maybe just a bit big, so let's build out his chin a little bit more as well. Give him essentially the features that are going to be there. But we don't want it to be we basically want it to look like he is the young version of the guy here. So he's still going to be a bit of a tank, and nowhere near as You know, he looks a bit like the Hulk. And that's more, I think that's clearer. That's a bit of a better of pencil sketch. Right, so let's take that and let's outline that. Feeling somewhat confident in my lines today. Yeah, which is good. And for those of you who were with me in the last session, I talked a bit about confidence in line work. But I'm not going to go into any detail until we've done the actual outline. Everything in the inside is essentially going to be the inline. Although I like that kind of shape, so I'll keep that as is. Let's put this in with my turnip pen. Sorry, textured pen. Now I really do like the textured pen for my internal line work. Your turnip pen is pre-built quite nicely to have like really clean edges. So that's why I tend to do it for like an outline. It works nicely for making sure that your artwork overall looks quite clean. So just the kind of silhouette of it, almost. It's not really the silhouette, it's it's just the outline. It looks clean. Whereas I like to add a bit of texture to my line work internally, because it reminds me a bit more of your traditional style of art. There's always a level of edge to it. There's a scratchy nature to it. There's a texture to it. And that is why when I am doing line work, I'll use the two different pens. The textured pen for the internal and the turnip pen for the external. But what I like really about the textured pen is the control that you can have, the line variation in width, just with one pen and one size. I don't have to go overboard and do like multiple different sizes and whatnot, but I do like a medium-ish size, and I can pretty much, depending on pen pressure, get away with a lot. Now I have taken some time with this, and essentially what I've done is played about with the settings of the pen. So I've gone into the settings here. I played about with it, changed the anti-aliasing, the stabilization, all that kind of stuff, and essentially created the pen to work for what I like. Now, bear in mind that the pens on Clip Studio are very good, and I'll honestly say that the pre-built pens are nice already. So you don't have to go and change everything about them. But I've just added little bits in terms of, like, say, stabilization, or it's just to correct my own fault on it. So it's things like that. We'll go a little bit lighter. See, I mean, it looks cleaner with the texture on the inside. And it's still, I mean, it looks like the same guy. He just looks younger. So let's save it. I mean, that's a good. I quite like that. That works. I don't even know if you can hear me properly. I'm assuming you can. Anyway. Right, so how did I put the shadow in last time? Coming from the side and the back. Okay, let's put that in. Turnip pen also allows for really clean lines, but if you just want clean lines without adding anything extra per se, which one we're just using the lasso brush and then figuring out the rest, as in adjusting afterwards. I actually want a little bit of a backlighting rim. Let's put this in a little bit darker. And so what I'll do is, from there, I'll go to my texture pen, add little bits like hair follicles, even here in the back. There you go. Add a little bit of a light gap, because it gives it more of a three-dimensional look. Just fix that a little bit more, make it look a little bit more of a curve. just to add a little bit of a fold in the clothes, as it were, just like a slight one. And then we're going to do one more thing, which is the highlights we brought in forward last time, and then get rid of that for the iris. Right, next I'll take my soft brush, go white, and essentially just take some of that away like that. And there you go. It adds like depth, and it adds interest to the view, and you can see what's going on. You know, it's a little bit more. It's a lot more interesting. You know, like just like that. But that's one inked. Let's draw some cornflakes and whatnot. And we don't need to bother with the turnip pen for this. We're really just going to be doing like a really thin textured pen. I can't remember what that was. I need to look up on the desk. Okay, let's just draw what's there and hope for the best. Hope it looks alright. I think 5 will be alright, 0.5 will be alright. I mean, if you're here, thank you for joining. I appreciate you coming here. And, you know, if you want to know, let me know who you are. That's great. It'd be really nice to know who I'm listening into, or who's listening into me. No problem if not. Yep. And again, we're just going to try some stuff. So again, I got my French curve. I love my French curve. This is going to help me with all sorts of stuff, including straight edges and making everything look a little bit more what's the word? Oh, okay. Got a bit mental with the buttons. Fair enough. Let's do a smaller pen. So this just makes it look a little bit more sharp, a little bit more, what's the word? Sorry, I'm trying to think and render at the same time. It just makes it look a little bit better, right? It makes it look much sharper. Straight edges, things like that. Just using things like your French curve or other things. Honestly, super easy to do. And I would definitely recommend using things like a ruler or your French curve and whatnot on top of your tablet. But you can see, even if I just take that away, I mean, that looks nice as it is. And that's just me using the French curve a little bit. But there's an interest in it as well. I think I will grey that out a bit. But there's an interest because not every single line is the same. The depth is different. It varies it a bit more, makes it more, interesting overall. Let's put in all the little details. Now the details themselves are a bit, this is the whole point, and this is supposed to be like a messed up house. This is what it looks like in a trailer park somewhere, and we are genuinely just pushing the bottom of the barrel when it comes to good homes, really. So we want this with detail in it, and so I'm going to go smaller. I'm just going to put in lots and lots of small details here. And again, if you don't know what something doesn't look like, if you don't know what something looks like, definitely I would recommend getting images, looking at reference pictures, all that kind of stuff. And we talked a little bit about that last time as well. Anyway, currently I'm just doing this cigarette butt, in an ashtray. Trying to keep my lines as clean as possible. I've also been thinking, because I know there's a couple of people here, so I really do appreciate you coming, and I appreciate you being here. What kind of art videos do you want to see? You know, what kind of things are you interested in me doing? And I'm not going to do like stupid challenges, to be honest with you. The whole point of this is that you can understand and know how to do manga and comic books to a greater extent. You know, there's the whole point in this is for you to be able to pick up stuff for your own journey, right? The whole point is so that you can learn how to get better in the same way that I have learned from other people, and I'm hoping to continue to learn from other people about how to get better. So just, you know, what would you like to see? You know, comment below, or just comment in general. You can message on or comment on a post on Instagram or whatever, but it would honestly be really good to know what it is that you would like to see, or maybe would like help with. You know, what would you like help with as in your own comic book manga journey? You know, that's really why I think it is really important to continue to learn. I mean, I'm not done. I'm not the best artist in the world. I know that 100%. And I am continuing to learn, and I'm hoping just to get better and better and better. And the only way that can actually happen is if you understand that there's always room to grow. Whether you're the best at something or officially being called the best at something doesn't mean you can't learn more. Thinking about the Olympics going on just now, and you were looking at, you know, people like Simone Biles, for example, who literally has gymnastics moves named after her, and how, you know, phenomenal she is as an athlete, as a gymnast. But she, you know, even she had like a tumble today when she was on, and she'll take that and she'll learn from it. She'll learn from the other people in the Team USA in Team USA. So it's and artists are the same. I mean, many artists are going to be looking at, for example, the works of, say, Jim Lee, or artists that have passed already. People like, or even, you know, are still there, J. Scott Campbell, Joe Mad, the Jorge Jimenez. There's loads and loads. I mean, I think there's loads and loads of artists out there that people will learn from just by looking at what it is they do, how they incorporate their style into real life. You know, it's a continuous journey of learning how to be better. So, I mean, I'm genuinely interested to know, what is it that you want to learn? How could I possibly, you know, if you are watching to learn, as it were, how could I possibly help you in your own art journey? What is it that you like about art, and is there anything specific that you want to get better in? And you know, I'll do my best to help with that if I can. I'm going to do a little thing, and basically I'm doing big globules here for the ash, but I'm going to add in a little bit of a particle variation in the greys and things like that as well, just to make it look a lot more, because right now it just looks like kind of empty, and I want it to be basically full of dust. So let's put a decent size of particles on, and let's lock out our area like here, and we'll just add in our droplets. Smaller brush. But we're also going to vary this a little bit, get rid of some of them here and there. Put in a little bit of texture lines here and there, a little bit of ripples, and that is your ashtray. See, I mean, it looks alright. I mean, it looks alright. I mean, it's not the best ashtray in the world, but I zoom out, you can tell it's an ashtray. Happy dappy. That's, you know, that's the thing. We were just looking at cheats to get the work done faster. So, do you want to talk about cheats and how to get things done? Oh, let's talk about cheats for a bit. So, how do you make your workflow faster, right? How do you make it so that you are in a position where you can continue to give out something like 10 pages a week? Which, by the way, is tough. There's no doubt in my mind that some of you are thinking, gosh, I can barely do, 2 pages a week, if that. Some of you might be in the position where you can give out 20 pages a week, but they're not to a high standard that you would like it to be. And I'll be honest with you, not one thing works for everyone. There's multiple things that would we need to consider. I'm still trying to figure out what I actually did there. I can't remember. We've got, unless that's supposed to be the spoon? No, because the spoon's in there. What is that supposed to be? I don't even remember what it's supposed to be. I'm just gonna put it in and hope for the best. Oh, what is this thing? I feel like I've started to draw something without actually thinking through what it should be, and that's not ideal. And a lot of other people maybe be just looking at this going, no idea. If you know what it is, message, please. Put a message in right now and tell me what it is, because I have confused myself with my sketches. And it looks alright, whatever it is. Just... Anyway. One thing I would recommend in order to speed up your workload is to look at the preset, the presets already in your preset brushes. Sorry, already in your whatever you're watching, wherever you're doing. No, I know it's this is cornflakes. I'm talking about here, this part. Okay, I can't just be cornflakes. Is it cornflakes? No, it's not cornflakes because it's not the box. Anyway, look at the presets that are already in your program that you're using. So I went for Clip Studio 1 because, yeah, it's cheaper. So I did this before the whole AI thing with Adobe Suite. And I don't agree with Adobe Suite's use of the cloud in that way. I'm not going to go into it too much, but to me it was just a very expensive option which was already out of the way. So I didn't bother. What I did do in the end was I looked up some stuff. I looked up online, watched some videos, had a look at other stuff and saying, right, okay, what is the best software for drawing comic books, drawing manga, doing illustrations, that kind of thing. And that's my whole purpose of getting Clip Studio. It was got nothing to do with the fact that I didn't like the AI stuff in Photoshop, because that was way before that, although technically they've been doing it for a while, without anyone really actually paying attention to it. But if you mean the whole point, the biggest thing for Photoshop, their biggest draw was the idea that they would take cloud storage. They would have cloud storage. That was the biggest thing with Photoshop. So with that, I think I'm actually going to change the angle of this ever so slightly and make it a little bit bigger. Anyway, so they would just take cloud storage, and that would essentially, they said, if you have cloud storage, we can use that as part of our AI training and things like that, which I know a lot of people don't necessarily agree with. I don't agree with it. But they have very clearly said that it's only if they want it, and they have clearly said that if it's if it's stored on the cloud, which by the way, a lot of things will be, then they can use it. Because technically, whatever's on there, in the same way that Facebook owns the pictures that you put up there, you will have signed something that says, that I call license agreement, basically saying that you are allowing them to use. Spoon looks like it's got a bite of it. Sorry, you're allowing them to use your work if you're using their storage system, and that's what it is. So ultimately you're left with this idea that, do I fork out for like 3 terabytes worth of stuff? I mean, I'm sure Google do that as well to some extent. I mean, I don't think they train AI in the same way. But I wouldn't be surprised if like other places, big places, will be using, cloud storage to train AIs. I don't think it's limited to just Photoshop. I reckon Photoshop, people have done it because of like I said, cloud storage was their big draw. And I reckon they had to essentially just come clean about it because artists are annoyed with the whole AI thing, and rightly so. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that the AI thing is just going to become a wave of the future, and if you want to keep growing and you want to keep getting your business, you want to keep working as part of an artist, then you're going to have to learn how to use AI. And I would say, right, AI can be used well, but it shouldn't be used as a completed art. It should be used as possibly a reference point. Okay, that's I think the only thing I would do. I mean, the same way you're going to go and you learn from other artists, right? That's what people do. I think I've kind of talked about this. This has become a bit of a theme. You learn from other artists. You look at what other artists do. You look at what they are, techniques they use, what tools they use, even the brushes that they would digitally use. I mean, I did that when I went. First thing I did, or one of the very first things I did, because I realized that actually I don't like my my art digitally. I always preferred my art when I was doing it, manually, physically, as opposed to just digitally. And I still do to some extent. I think I posted something today on Instagram, which was, I quite liked, and that was just a quick half an hour sketch that I did because I was looking after the kids, and the kids were like, yeah, okay, they were going to have art time. I was like, okay, well, this is a good time for me just to do a little bit of art or something, right? So that is it. I mean, you have an opportunity, you take it, as it were. So I did. I took the opportunity, and I think the thing that I did posted was quite good as a warm-up sketch for one, but I quite liked it much more so to some extent than some of my earlier or some of my digital paintings even now, or digital drawings even now. I don't know what it is. I just don't like the lack of paper feel. I think that might be it. Anyway, so one of the first couple of things that I did when I was working on digital art is I went and looked up videos of Jorge Jimenez, because honestly he's one of my most favourite artists. He did so great. I mean, Joker War, art-wise, story-wise, I'm not a huge fan of it, but art-wise it is phenomenal. Like, it's genuinely phenomenal. So I looked up Jorge Jimenez videos. He did a couple of videos, put some videos on YouTube. And so I looked up, saw what he did, looked at some of the stuff that he was using, and I paused it, zoomed in on some of his brush settings and whatnot, And I was like, oh, right, okay. So I've tried that out on Clip Studio, looked for it a bit, tried to play about with it a little bit more, adjusted what I did with my brushes, and finally got to something that I liked. So this is what I'm saying. It's not just, AI will work in a very similar kind of way, in that you could literally use references from other people and adjust your artwork to, improve. But I do not for 1 second think using just an AI picture, like plugging in, say, oh, I want this in AI, I want a horse on the back of a truck that's on fire or some whatever, okay, or some nonsense, and then saying, right, yep, this is an artwork that I made. No, that to me is wrong. That to me is just saying, no, you're taking, because AI obviously steals other people's work and puts it together and forms some sort of succinct picture, but it's not licensed by the person that they're taking, and it's very much it's thieving somebody else's stuff. As much as I don't like that word, it is stealing other people's work without their permission and adjusting it and changing it just enough that it's doing its own thing. And to me, that's not right. You can reference other people for sure. I mean, comic book artists have been doing it for years. The number of people who have copied, for example, Todd McFarlane's covers as an homage to him, or a number of people who have copied, Jim Lee's very, very famous Superman, Batman standing on top of the building. Those individual buildings, one Metropolis and one's in Gotham. I mean, that's a hugely famous thing. And then done it for their own characters. That to me, that's not copying. That to me is copying. Sorry, I think that's wrong. I wouldn't sell that as my own. And I remember going to, I think it was Dunfermline Comic Con once, and I went to Dunfermline Comic Con, which for those of you who don't know is quite a nice little place in Scotland, and I used to live there, and the one guy was there, and he was basically he had photoshopped pictures together of comic book superheroes from, say, games, and then I think Man of Steel was just out there, and so what he did was he took a picture of Superman from a video game, and ultimately just photoshopped the Man of Steel suit on it, which was, to me, really, really wrong, and they really shouldn't be selling something like that. But people get away with that all the time, small things like that. It's not right. I mean, I really don't think that's right. Gosh, it really does. It looks like wood shavings, doesn't it? Poor kid is having to eat all this this nonsense. Oh, poor guy. Anyway, so there's a difference between AI art, which is wrong. Feel free to. I would recommend the way to use it properly is by using it as a reference system, and I don't think for any second it's going to go away, even with all these legal documents that are going to be in place that say that no AI is going to be allowed to take a person's work or whatever, but if they don't assign that person work in the first place, it's things like that, and it's cheaper. It is absolutely cheaper, and theoretically you can get the work done faster. But I honestly think in the future there's going to be something like an AI artist that's going to come in play, and it'll be like, right, let's put this together, blah 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 blah, and then the artist's job will be to take all the individual renders that the computer or the AI system has managed to do, and ultimately just turn it into a cohesive piece of art that makes sense, and that will be a job in the future, 100%. And I don't think I'm too wrong by saying, or if I say something along the lines of, it'll probably be much cheaper to do that for larger companies than it will be to hire artists to do it from scratch. It'll be less time consuming, and I reckon it'll be it'll be what's next. which is a shame. You know, I mean, obviously, there's maybe an upside to this, and there's a theoretical upside to this again. So theoretically, if someone is, or anybody can make AI art, okay, let's say anybody can make AI art, does that mean that the value of individuals' artworks, people who can actually make stuff, goes up? You know, like instead of doing comic books and whatnot, but individual artists who, say for example, do watercolors, and you want to buy an artist's actual work, would that go up in terms of value? You know, if you purposefully say make mistakes here and there, will that go up in value? These are just ideas. I mean, theoretically, there's a reason why it could go up, but at the same time, you know, it's probably one of those things that, you know, it'll only really go up in value once you're dead or something. It feels horrible, but you know, a lot of artists had that virtually unknown all of their life. Then they died, and their value, everything went up in value because they were rare, or they were rarities. And that's why I'm thinking, you know, the whole idea of like a rare, actually created piece of art. That's what I mean. I'm gonna add a little bit of sheen to that silver. Gosh, that looks nasty, doesn't it? Here, sorry. Do you want some chips? Want some flakes of wood for breakfast? Yeah, that's okay, man. I would love to have flakes of wood. I don't know why that voice. What was that voice? Anyway, right. Come to me, French Curve. You are my friend, French Curve. Again, I don't know why I'm saying these things. What's going on, man? Oh, goodness me. I mean, if you want to leave because you just feel that this is a bit too freaky deaky, feel free to. I'm sorry. Just trying to get the angle on this, and I feel like I've messed up a little bit. Let's flip it to that side. See if it makes a difference. It's not bad, actually. I don't like the size of that. Let's make that smaller. To off. No. What I'm trying to do, and I'm thinking of maybe doing this soon, is I'll maybe try and get a way that I can... I know some people do this already, but I think I'm going to try and find a way that I can stream on YouTube while also streaming on, say, Instagram at the same time. But I don't know if I have to do something new, like get a upgraded version of, say, I'm using OBS Studio right now to stream, and I don't know if I need to get another version of OBS Studio or something for this, or use an alternative software. Excuse me, or use an alternative software to do this. I'll need to think a little bit more. Now, Joe, who wrote this, wanted essentially the guy to be living in like a trailer park, right? And there's not really like an equivalent of a trailer park, I think, in the UK. I mean, there is, I think to some extent there is, but I can't for the life of me think properly, because I think it's basically just campsites that are overtaken by people who can't necessarily afford housing or are in or traveling possibly all the time. But I don't really think the UK, unless I'm totally wrong, if somebody knows something, I mean, I've seen campsites in the UK that have become overrun with people who have overstayed their welcome, and they've left it in, like, you know, a trashy site. But I can't think of like an official... That's not a good line. of like an official trailer park. Because am I wrong? Am I wrong in thinking that a trailer park is, you know, and essentially like a campsite, but it's more like a community lives there? I mean, maybe I'm totally wrong. Don't like that line. That's not a good line. Yeah, get rid of that line. Let's turn this bowl into more of a... There you go, that's better. That's much better, look at that. Free-flowing fingers. That sounds nasty. Don't quote me on that. Darn, who knew it would take so long to get a bowl done? You know? There's a little chip. Let's put a little chip there as well. Too thick. Needs to be a little bit thinner. There you go. That's a nice line. Right. I think that's quite nice. It's sad though. I mean, I feel like this is just a dry bowl of wood shavings. Hey man. Do you know what though? The idea behind him being super poor and living in a trailer park doesn't add much to his character other than acknowledging how much he has had to overcome. You know, it's like the underdog story. You know, that's like small details like that really sell a character. You know, oh okay. If you're writing a story and you're like, right, okay, where does he live? Or that, you know, you have a question, it's like, oh, where does he live? And you say, well, it doesn't really matter. Then you're essentially putting yourself in a bad position for the future. You know, think about your characters. Think about, you know, all of their nuances, all of the things that make them them. If, you know, what's their favourite colour? Is that kind of stuff. Hello! You know, like, okay, so if you had a character, for example, who, I don't know, say you had a character who was a goat in the middle of Mars, and somebody asked you, right, well, why are they in the middle of Mars? And you couldn't answer, that's everything gone. You know, that's everything gone. You need to be a little bit more active in overthinking your characters. But you can get to a point, and this is something that I've learned personally, you can get to a point where you overthink your characters so much that you'll never get on to writing. So there's a balance. There's always a balance to find. So here's what I would recommend. Give yourself enough of a character that you can answer any major questions that could come up. Right? Any major questions that might come up. From there, if future questions come up, you have created an attitude for your character, you've created an idea of your character that you would be able to answer essentially in a flash, from their perspective, the answer. You know? So for example, you've created a character and you want them to have an arc. One, what's the arc? Two, how are they going to change throughout that arc? Or how is the situation going to change throughout the arc? Because not every single character needs to have a life-changing situation. Sometimes they can be the one that comes in to change the situation itself. You know, small things to look out for. And some people don't agree with me on that, and I totally get that. I think it's always nice, or it's almost easier to write a character who has changed dramatically or in some way because of the situation they're in. You know, that to me, that's the way I would write. I think it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's easier. But at the same time, you can also have characters that haven't changed in the situation, but instead they are facilitating the change in others. And I'll give you a good example of this. If you've never seen Rocky, watch the Rocky movie, because honestly, it's one phenomenal movie. But two, Rocky the character doesn't quite change at all. He's always very much this, this character who is trying his best, never really gets much, but then finally gets a break. He finally gets his lucky break because of some sort of freak chance with Apollo Creed. He doesn't change much in that. But his circumstances change. And he learns that actually you should go for the opportunity. The circumstances themselves change around it. He doesn't his whole character doesn't have a big arc and doesn't change so much. There's multiple other films like that. I mean, the ones that were characters change. Shrek, for example, really easy one. Toy Story. I'm looking at like kids' TV shows, I think, just because I've been on summer holidays watching Disney Plus and whatnot all the time with the kids. But these are all, to some extent, almost easier to write because you have these characters that need to undergo this change, and these characters will essentially lead you, be a hook. These will be the reasons why people can relate to them. The ones where you have, and I think is much more difficult to write, are the characters that change the circumstance, even if that's your main character, they're the ones that change the circumstance enough that everything else has changed. So there's a brilliant movie, and my wife she didn't like this movie because the main character apparently didn't have an arc, right? Anyway, so she basically just said there's a film called Lagan, right? It's called Lagan. It's a brilliant movie. I think it's on Netflix. You can watch it, right? And it's all about how India. It's a fake story. How India played a cricket match against England back in the at the time where England kind of ruled everything, the Raj. And essentially, that cricket match was the reason, or one of the reasons why these characters got a little bit of freedom from the British. It's a it's a really good movie. It's actually a really good movie. But she didn't like it. It's got nothing to do with the fact that she's got like English parents or grandparents and whatnot. I hope. But she didn't like it because she said the main guy doesn't have a character arc. And like, well, you don't necessarily need that main guy to have a character arc. If you don't agree with me, yeah, fair enough. You don't. I mean, feel free to post and tell me, that I'm wrong here. Please do. That looks alright. How does that look? So I had a little bit of shading, as it were, to this part here. Some cross hatching, a little bit of details here and there. Doesn't even matter what they are. So where's my light source coming from? Just at the top. Whatever this is, it looks like a shoe. What have I done? Anyway, see that meal looks nice, but I still don't know what that is. So there you go, dry bowl of cereal. I really hope that looks like a dry bowl of cereal. I think it looks good. I mean, even the shape of it looks slightly misshapen. Yeah, I mean, it looks like this guy is unfortunately so poor that he can't get circular bowls. They're like oval shaped or something like that. Poor guy. I think I'm gonna adjust this. That's the problem, is that it's just not curved here enough. There you go. Anyway, so I mean, I tend to be the guy that writes the stories that are the main character is going to go through an arc. You're going to get a hook from him, right? But again, you don't necessarily have to do that. It's not. It's not the only type of story there is. That looks better. Right, let's build in. I think we have enough time to do this one for a bit as well. And again, the details there are pretty much going to be the details there. I'm not going to add anything else extra to it. I'll add a little bit in terms, grey, just to bring it full circle a little bit with that last panel, which I quite like that last panel. Poor Jeremy. Hello. I'm not expecting him to answer back. I just... Hey! Let's get on this. I think adding things like cracks and then, glass shatters or things like crap on the floor, all that's just really nice as like extra details and things. But also, and the extra details shouldn't necessarily overshadow the main details that you want. So here, for example, I have his bag. I've got a bunch of letters here. I've got him sitting at the table. These are my main details. The bunch of letters will come in later because it's been part of the next page. It's about like overdue notices and things like that. The bag, he's going to school. He's sitting at the table. Empty bowl of cereal, sitting at the table. That's it. I mean, it all just kind of plays in. I'm showing the details that I need to be there to have an anchor point for the future panels. So it's just things like that to look out for. Let's put this in as rough. I might have to redraw a little bit here and there. So I was playing about a bit with colours just to see what it would look like. I think I'm going to draw Jeremy a little bit here, a little bit more clearly. But we may not finish it. I think what I'll do, because I think we're essentially running out of time, and I know I started late, I apologise for that. It was genuinely, my computer decided to restart at that moment, which is somewhat typical. Let's hide his face a little bit more. No, still don't know what that is. Right. Poor Jeremy. Now, part of the thinking behind this was I wanted him to be essentially like hunched over extremely so that you could almost get an idea of the size of the guy. Because he's a big guy. So I might need to bring that down a little bit, just underneath the table like that. Because he looks pretty big there. And that's what we want. We want him to look big because he's like 6'4" or something. I can't remember. Joe, do you remember how big he is? 6'4" or something. And I almost wanted like his tight t-shirts because it's almost like they couldn't afford bigger stuff. You know what I mean? It's one of those, got to think about it a little bit more psychologically and a little bit more full story in terms of his the atmosphere that we're trying to pull. But at least he's got a 6'6". Thank you. and he's got at least he's got a chair to sit on, but that chair needs to be the same size about there, so let's make that smaller. Maybe that's a little bit smaller coming off there. Yep. Now I will be working on this tomorrow as well. Let's make the head smaller because actually it doesn't match up with the rest of the body. There you go. I'll be working on this tomorrow. I'll be working on this. I am hoping to work on this from around 1 o'clock, possibly 12 o'clock tomorrow. I'll keep you posted. I'll let you guys know for sure. Yes, it does. But this is essentially what the panel will roughly look like. I'm hoping to finish this off tomorrow, and that means that on, what day is it, Wednesday? On Thursday, I'm hoping to do the next page. Well, I'll give you a little sneak peek of the next page. Once it loads. And this is honestly one of my most favourite pages with the whole TikTok idea, with just the clock drumming throughout the thing. And you can see his environment a little bit more, you can see what's going on a little bit more. Most of this is detail stuff, so it's not, over the top, time consuming. I will think about making a TikTok if I really have to. But anyway, here is what I'll be working on tomorrow. I'm aiming to get this done Thursday night, Friday night, so hopefully you can join me then. In the meantime, I guess I'm going to have to call it because my wife needs me. But I do appreciate you all coming. It's been absolutely amazing to have you all here. I'm glad we can keep going with this. Do join the Patreon, patreon.com/Midnight Comics. I will add, pen fell. I'm just going to show a little thing right here, quickly. Do it in red. Whatever. So Patreon. Oh, that should be small p. Let's make it a bit bigger. Patreon/M mid moving on. KNIGHT Comics COMICS capital C Midnight Comics. Please, please, please. Join there. Everything is free, so you can go on to this, get free. That's what the final page is going to look like, Joe. You're going to go get everything for free. I've got loads and loads of stuff there. I post the free sketches up there all the time. Just grab everything you need and everything you want. It'd be amazing to have you all there. Thank you so much for coming in this session or joining me here at this art session. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned a little bit of something. I hope you had ideas for themselves. Please do post questions, Instagram, YouTube, on Patreon. It'd be amazing to know what it is that you want from me, as well as how I can help you in the future. But more importantly, it means so much to me that people are actually interested in the things that we, not only at Midnight Comics, but the authors that I'm working with. It's amazing. It's amazing to have people that are watching, as it were. So I do appreciate that. Anyway, unfortunately I do need to go, but next time for sure, please post. It was nice to see a couple of people posting, so thank you very, very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. So until next time, bye bye. I'm calling it. Bye bye.